Farthest north mountains, a deep pond at the source of the river, mouth of the river with no willows. You can see a long way. Long, high, lofty. The icy reef. The place where you go to listen. Where the waves splash again and again.
And what are you feeling right now?
A sense of a pulsating pressure on my feet and legs and hands. And a slight tightness in my solar plexus. And like a background, slight sense of tiredness behind my eyes.
Is there an and?
Like a mood. There's like, I feel a mood that is sitting on the fence. It's almost like it's sitting on the fence between good or bad, but it won't decide. But it could go either way. Now I'm feeling joy.
What would happen if it went one way or the other, the mood?
If it went bad mood, I would most likely struggle with conversations about trying to not resist the state that I'm in, but resisting it as I'm conversing with myself about it. And if it went on the good end, I wouldn't think much about it. Like I would meet what I was doing with a sense of flow, I believe.
What is at the source of the resistance when it comes to the so-called bad mood?
I believe there's an anxiety about the bad mood as limiting my ability to take action in such a way that's like underneath that is like maybe a fear of, I guess, essentially having my life fall apart.
Oh. The essentially just got tucked in there, didn't it?
Yeah. All the various scenarios, I was like, yeah, basically, I think it's a fear of that I'll be in a bad mood and that I will not be able to act or see what to act on, and then my life will fall apart because I can't act.
How does it go from not being able to act to a life falling apart?
Well, what strikes me, well, when I first look at it, it doesn't look like it would. So I have to turn my attention and go, well, what is it that has it look that way when I'm not directly looking at it? It's like, I think it's a sense of having struggled in the past with kind of logistical things and like the workings of life and the kind of stuff that's not very pleasant for me to do. I think there's carryover of if I don't have the fear of not doing it, that I won't, something like almost like I need the fear to motivate myself to make sure that my life doesn't fall apart, because otherwise it would, I guess. So there's like a belief in whatever it is, the self that struggles with that or has struggled with that in the past.
Can you be clear with me about the self that has struggled with that in the past?
Yeah, the first thing that comes up about that is lots of memories of struggling with in school, having learning disabilities, and all kinds of different environmental factors that were not very conducive to high performance, so to say. And the kind of frustrating, like endless frustration of not being able to understand what I was supposed to do, or lots of struggle without a whole lot of support. Yet with an impending sense of necessity, and like it looking like other people were able to do it without hardly any effort, and I struggled with it.
And is there a particular example or set of examples that would reveal this struggle more clearly?
Yeah, like there's one specific one where I remember being at my grandparents' house. They would pick me up from school when I was a kid, and I would be it was time to do my homework, which I was already dreading, and I would pull out like the math homework, and I would try to do it, and I just couldn't figure it out, and I would get so frustrated with myself that I would like literally punch myself in the face, and like pull my hair, and like in the feeling, right? The feeling was like a sense of trap, despair.
Did you say feeling trapped and despairing, or did you say something despair?
Yeah, I think I said trapped, a feeling of being trapped, despair. Despair in that I'm trapped with this struggle.
Was there also rage?
Yeah. Yeah, and helplessness.
Was there, you've mentioned a number of different emotional responses. Is there one that really stands out as being most prominent among the others?
Let's see. It's, what really kind of just stands out when I think back on that is this sense of dark. It was just really dark and hopeless. And it kind of feels like everything else was downstream from that. So, remembering the original question, like, what would happen if if it went on the bad side of the fence? I'm like, oh well.
Let me tell you about it, sir. Have you lived with a sense of darkness on and off since?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in different ways. But I think, a big part of, like when I got a divorce in my late 30s, I'm 47 now, there was, I basically kind of like got overwhelmed with all the logistics of the divorce, and kind of for a lot of different reasons that I didn't really quite know exactly why at the time. I just went, like I basically fell apart, didn't open the mail, and like kind of just let my whole life fall apart. And that was a distinctive feeling of, in that sense, there was a letting go, but then there was an overwhelm whenever I would try to look at it. And so I would avoid it. Um, yeah, that was like, it's like a dark night of the soul, I would say.
Hmm. Musical accompaniment to the recollection of the dark night of the soul.
Well, can you repeat the question?
Oh, I said we have a musical accompaniment to the recollection of the dark night of the soul just now.
Yeah,
That was just a remark. So I see the bad mood. If there's a bad mood,
Mm-hmm.
there's the inability to act. And the inability to act takes you through darkness, and the darkness basically leads downstream to life falling apart. Is that more or less correct, or is there something that we're missing?
You're correct. Yeah, totally. That's the emotional associativeness to when I look at falling on the bad side of the mood and the resistance to it. Definitely.
What sorts of approaches have you taken to the matter?
Well, like a few things. I would say that there's one is I've simplified my life in kind of a profound way. It has a lot to do with being married and committing to monogamy and really being wedded. And I think the way that's affected me and my wife in a mutually affording way, increasingly so, is just more of just being responsible and taking care of business, probably more than I ever have.
Mm-hmm.
Less avoiding, and there's I feel a commitment that in some way seems almost held and called forth by my marriage. Actually, it's actually quite profound, the experience of it.
I'm very much with you, but let me just very gently push back.
Just make sure you push me on the right side.
Yeah, well, we'll see which side. You said before the conversation you wanted to experience some existential discomfort. So if we can, so far you seem, to my way of hearing, to be very comfortable in the conversation, as one would expect. But is it the case that what you just described, notwithstanding how very beautiful it, to be sure, is, isn't it still downstream?
The which is downstream?
Isn't notwithstanding how beautiful your commitment to and love of your wife is, isn't it still downstream?
Great question. Let me see. Yeah, there's something. We'll see if I can put it to words. So feeling into it, there's like, yeah, there is a sense in which, well, okay, yeah, cool. I could also be married, and but the marriage isn't making me do that, right? There's a way I'm stepping into it. Like, what has me step into it like that? You know, it's interesting. I feel something like the word wisdom. I guess I think wisdom in the sense of like knowing the right thing to be afraid of. Um, and this sense of, you know, even when I feel into it, there's another sense where there's a ground to that feels more spacious, still, wise. So what comes up to that?
Mm-hmm. Come back to the sense of powerlessness. And in this case, take what you've described, that is this place of wisdom and stillness, as that which is viewing the darkness, and powerlessness, perhaps even the sense that life is falling apart. So again, come back to the sense of darkness, powerlessness, frustration, rage, helplessness, and so on, but with the eyes of love and wisdom and stillness. As you look inside the body, the physical body, what do you see?
Right when you brought my attention there, like immediately I felt like a sense of like warmth, like a feeling of like warmth in my feet and my hands, like, and I think I felt compassion.
Compassion for?
I think myself.
What does that mean?
Like when I turn towards that, right, with like open observation, and I look at like, oh yeah, like of course I'm afraid of. There's something like, oh yeah, of course I'm afraid of that, right? Like I learned being afraid of that, and like, oh yeah, I like really needed stuff that I didn't know how to ask for help, and I think I sense it. I sense I can feel at the same time there was all of the struggle with it, right? I can feel the innocent being underneath all of it. And it has me just has a feeling of heart openness and compassion for herself.
Yes. And as you bring that wisdom and stillness and heart open compassion to what you just described, let me ask, and when are you going to drop all the struggle? When is even the concern with a bad mood? When is even the concern with a bad mood nothing but An interesting memory.
It's, you know, what's really kind of interesting right now, and just walking through all of this, I'm just seeing the connections. I notice I feel like it feels more like a memory in some sense. It's the quality of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it like, well, in more of a permanent sense.
But help me out. I follow you. When are you going to drop the idea that dyslexia is something that has to be struggled with? Remember, we don't really know each other
Right.
very much, and you've mentioned that, so I can give you just a few pieces of evidence from our brief tete-a-tetes. You know, I wrote you an email some months ago, and then you wrote back and said, "Hey, we should have a conversation. I'm sorry, I'm paraphrasing here to extreme. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you sooner." Something about email.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also mentioned in passing, just in passing once, something about dyslexia. I
Right.
felt the difference in tone.
Right.
So all I'm doing is holding you to the fact that there's still struggle here.
Yeah.
There's still a concern about a bad mood. And all I'm asking you is when? It's a very Zen question. When are you going to drop not the memories, but the fear and the struggle and all of that resisting, tensiony stuff?
What comes up is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say that, one, it feels really real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm getting more insight into what it is.
Namely,
Yeah, like it's like there's a whole identity that is really kind of bound up with that struggle. And true, I have dyslexia, and it's true that certain things don't come easily to me and that aren't necessary. All of that just actually is true.
mm-hmm.
That's not where that's not the source of my suffering about it.
Mm-hmm.
Distance.
But rather,
It's like, it's a, it's like telling myself that I'm no good at that stuff for two reasons. One is so that it can motivate enough fear and energy to like struggle and with this, so that it can overcome it or
mm-hmm.
prevent it.
Yes.
But also there's another underbelly to it, which is like, but there's also a sense of like, in that it's a struggle, the identification is kind of there so that I don't have to be responsible for when it fails.
Tell me, what is that identity or identification in particular?
Yeah. God, I think it's like, it's just a self-image of someone kind of deficient and not fully capable. Yeah, it's old. I mean, it's a very old image.
As you look at it more closely, do you notice any other attributes?
yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's coming forward that didn't quite see before like this is this sense of having preemptively, how it provides preemptively a reason
For
failing at something.
because I am
And
deficient or incapable, etc.
yeah, totally. It's actually quite, now I'm feeling impressed with, because it does two things.
I'm really impressed with what?
Like the sense of it's really quite interesting because as I'm looking at it, I get the sense that it provides two things. One is that it persists in a familiar struggle to get myself to do the things that I'm no good at. And two, it also provides me with a reason, an excuse for when I fail because I'm incapable. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're both there.
Yes. And what do you see now as you describe that structure?
Well, I feel a kind of presence to the felt sense of that self-image identity, whatever it is that we call it, like whatever it is I'm calling it. It's becoming more objective. And then when I kind of feel where I am right now, there's like a sense of just openness.
Mm-hmm.
I watch myself just kind of turn back towards my life and look at all the things I need to do and all the logistics. And I'm just like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
sweep the floor. Things got really simple but deeper.
Let's return to the self-image of being incapable and deficient. Let's suppose that we're to reside somewhere in the body. If so, where might it reside?
Right in my solar plexus, that kind of tightening, like there's a tightness, but a kind of an inner sense of collapse. Like a weakness or something. That's, I think, where it feels most resonant, right in my solar plexus.
If you approached it with love and compassion, would you notice that it has any colors or any shape?
No, just the sense, like the sensation.
Go a little bit closer. Is there, as you draw your attention around it, a top or a bottom or a left or a right?
Yes. Would you like me to describe it?
Please.
Yes. goes, I would say it's about 3 inches long. It's 2 inches wide. And I'd say it goes, if I feel most pronouncedly on the surface, and then it goes, I would say about 1.5, maybe 2 inches deep. And right in the center of it, there's a sense of almost like, is the most intense sensation or the strongest of it, and it feels as if it's like as if you were pulling from the center and you're in my body and you're taking it and pulling it back towards my back. There's like a suction or a vortex. That's the sense. That's the shape of feeling.
What would happen then if you, with the utmost love and compassion, were to take your mental fingers, as it were, and were to slowly take that tension and move it in the opposite direction, such that there might be a little bit of slackness? What might happen if you were to do that?
Well, instantly I just noticed I breathed deeper.
What happens to the string as you methodically, slowly, lovingly, patiently reverse course?
There's a feeling of just it's moving more and more towards the surface. Whoa. It's like literally dissolving.
Come very curiously and attentively to it seemed like the most intense sensation. What is that like as you almost massage your attention lovingly in, through, and around it?
Yeah. I'm mostly really still with just being surprised. Expecting that. So there's less pressure. It literally feels like almost something's just at the top of my skin. Almost as if it's like floating. Whereas before it was maybe 2 inches deep. Now it's like a half of, maybe a centimeter deep, floating on the surface.
And what if, with your loving eyes or loving mental fingers, you were to slowly offer that sensation outward to the space as far as it needs to go, such that it might go outward, upward, aroundward, and so on. What might happen if you were, as it were, to offer the sensations to the space? To everything.
One is just the sense of an opening to everything. and felt that struck by the very presence of this thing seems predicated by there not being in everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The sense of just like, oh yeah, like offering it to everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if that spot just opened its eyes and realized for the first time that there was there was everything.
Yes. No, it's no longer just me or mine.
It's like the possibility of a sense, I want to say like support.
Mm-hmm.
Something supportive about it.
Mm-hmm. Come back to that area. What does it feel like now?
It's interesting, and now it feels like there's still the impression of a sensation there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, how does it feel? There's something more alive about the sensation though.
Is there anything else as you explore it more fully?
Yeah. It's almost like it's whereas something like maybe before it felt like just a response to something. Now the sensation feels like a kind of has a presence to it.
Is it a unique or special presence? Or is it a presence like any other presence in your heart region or Dante in your stomach region or whatever?
It's more like I just like everything else is present.
Mm-hmm. What if you were to imagine that everything else, what we ordinarily call the universe, or to, in beautiful wave-like movements or in brushstrokes, pass in and through this region and in and through the physical body?
Mm-hmm.
And what if you were to imagine that at the end of that inhalation, and at the beginning of the exhalation, the energy universe would pass the other way, back and through the body and out the front again. If you find yourself in that rhythmic meditation, the one whose purpose is to reveal to us that there is nothing special about the sensation, what do you discover? What do you see and feel?
Mm. Feels like as I breathe out and the wiggles. One is the waving wiggles of the universe felt just it was really it really feels like that's true.
Mm-hmm. What feels true right now?
Just the way that you just described the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And when I exhale, and as it goes up and through, now it feels like that spot feels like an opening.
Mm-hmm. Now, what if it were the case that the entire front of the body were an opening through which all energy passed?
This just got a lot more pleasant.
Mm-hmm. How so?
Like the moment you said it, it was almost like it was already the case.
Mm-hmm.
And
Can you see right now that the borders or boundaries between the skin and what is allegedly beyond the skin are actually porous?
they're kind of like the way it feels as I as I hear as I hear the water fountain.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like the front of my body is like the place its sound happens at.
Mm-hmm.
Like a room, I almost feel like a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It's gathering the sound of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
It's very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And now right there, I just felt like just like a sense of surprise by like a sense of ecstaticness.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe that ecstaticness?
It does have I can see it and feel it. It's like the same intensity of color and brightness is like when the sun reflects on the lake,
Mm-hmm.
like the tingles, right,
Mm-hmm.
coming off of the ripples of the water. It's almost exactly like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very connected to that place in the solar plexus too.
Mm-hmm. How so?
Like it's almost like that area feels those those twinkling ecstatic
Mm-hmm.
senses more intensely there than everywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, and can you let it be the case that that intensity from the solar plexus region is able to expand across the so-called physical body and beyond the so-called physical body?
Mm.
Can you let that gift expand, spread, and melt and shine?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
more of a sense of like I don't know why I've ever done anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have just a sweetness, sweet tears in my eyes, both when you were speaking earlier about.
Just gonna say that there's like a tearfulness, like a
Mm-hmm. Yes.
joyful tearing.
Mm-hmm. Come back to some of the words you used earlier. See this time whether it's possible to hear them as if they were simply sparkles or twinkles on the lake you were describing. Nothing more, nothing less. Can you hear struggle as if it were just a twinkle or a sparkle on the lake? Nothing more, nothing less.
Yes.
Can you hear can't do? I can't do. The line, the words, I can't do, as if they too were simply flashes, twinkles, or sparkles, or floating gems on the lake.
Yeah.
Yes? Can you allow the feeling of helplessness to also be experienced lightly and gently as if it were another twinkle or sparkle or flash or glitter on the lake? Can you let that be so?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Can you let words like deficiency and incapability and sentences like I'm not good enough or I'm not capable or I'm deficient, can you let all of those be what they truly are, namely flashes, sprinkles, glitters, momentarily arising and falling on the lake?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you let the identity wrapped seemingly tightly up with all of these words? Can you let the ego self wrapped seemingly tightly, bound seemingly tightly up with all of these things? And can you let that go as if it too were nothing but a set of aggregates, sensations, feelings, thoughts, all of which are nothing more, nothing less than sparkles, twinkles, pieces of glitter, patterns of glittering appearing momentarily on the lake?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, then can you continue to take your stand as this equanimous, open, empty, fluid, welcoming presence here and now?
Yes.
Let's return to the mood from the beginning. There were allegedly two kinds of moods. Yeah. Allegedly. Yeah. Two kinds. The good kind, conversing fluidly, flowingly, and the bad kind. Is it, if I may sound a little bit Zen here, is it possible to see now that they are not two after all?
Yeah.
Yeah? How so? How do you see that?
It's, well, one, there's a sense of obviousness to it. And as I look at it now, well, one is to look at that now looks almost like the images of the fence and the pictures that I had when I was talking about that, like, they just look funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say that there's a sense of like where I feel more like the context
Mm-hmm.
that happens in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's something about that seems to be just translating into, oh yeah, obviously.
Do you see also that you're craving or clinging when you identify yourself with being the fluid conversationalist?
Yes.
It's like two sides of the same fence, man. Yeah, I mean, sure. Is it not clear then, if I may be a little rhetorical, that the good mood is nothing but the obverse side of the bad mood?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally.
In which case, both are two identities or one identity with two different faces.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yes.
my question again is, in a very Zen key, perhaps it already began today. I'm sure it's begun before. When are you going to drop this identity?
Ten minutes ago.
We'll have to have another conversation about time. As you bring your attention back to the body and beyond it just for a moment, I'm wondering, does it feel more open, more supple, and so on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe it?
Yeah. Like it strikes me something like my whole body feels very much not like a solid thing.
Mm.
Like like just like almost like it's just a room making.
Like a what?
Like a room making.
I see.
Like there's that way in which the face, from my perspective, just I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
It allows for everything that's seen, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like that, except for my whole body.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
Quality of it, and then
Mm-hmm.
the quote unquote outlines of the body are just so interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of the same. They have the same significance as the sound of the neighbor's
Mm-hmm.
tree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Except that the sound of the neighbor's tree is more real than the outline of the body.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When the eyes are closed and the discriminating mind drops the concept body image or body silhouette or body outline, what is there?
Waves of sparkly tinkles. That are somehow mixed with every other wavy, tingly thing.
Yes. All of which is not a thing. Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like every arising, sensing, sensation, name. Yeah, there's a quality that just bubbles up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just bubbles up from nowhere, seemingly.
It's like being is carbonated.
In this case, it's good for you, though.
Yeah, totally. It's very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Nourishing, I should say, actually. Implicitly nourishing.
Mm-hmm.
Like in its bubbling bubbleness, it's nourishing. It's almost nourishing.
Thank you very much for this conversation today.
Thank you.
Just want to play something.